Ladies and gentlemen, for a start, we would like you to introduce our first sessions of Open Mic Night. Here we would like to invite our Open Mic Night presenter for tonight, Ms. Sarah GWEN SATHYAMOORTHY, for the stage to present her topic on reconnecting through adaptive reuse. But before that, allow me to read her biography. Sarah GWEN completed LAMP Part 1 in UCSI and currently embarking on a personal exploration to identify her specializations within the architecture field. Her professional journey is characterized by her passions for the architectural theory and discourse surrounding both built and unbuilt projects. Her project is situated in Malacca Heritage Town and it exemplifies the principle of adaptive reuse by preserving the essence of the site and building upon it to create a place of connection to history and tradition for its users. A main target is to redefine comfortable public spaces, extending beyond conventional restorations of the site further than the tangible shophouse is done by bringing back mangroves, which cultivates a reminiscence to the past untouched landscape. The project envisions a basement that adapts to future needs, potentially transforming into a regeneration water body when cars are obsolete, highlighting the connection between environmental sustainability and health. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Sarah GWEN.
Good evening, everyone. So today, my presentation aims to encourage and reshape our perspective on adaptive reuse and how it should be more of an instinctive approach in potential projects. So adaptive reuse is at its core a potential to rejuvenate the site for the contemporary setting. In the sites such as Malacca, Heritage Town, and specifically Tenkara Road, which this project focuses on, we find that there's many shop houses along the street, and this defines the unique character of Malacca. So unfortunately, we find that many of these shop houses are abandoned by their owners, and especially around Jonker area, they're turned into boutique hotels or trendy cafes and restaurants. So to familiarize with the background history of the site, I referenced a collection of historical records, and while composing the tiles, which is on the left-hand side, I referenced Automatism by Huat Lim, and this book discusses the value in using automatic or instinctive techniques when creating with a medium of choice. So the significance of Malacca in the past is that it used to be a place which would connect people from the east and the west. So people would make trips by sea and trade their goods here. This easily became a very cosmopolitan and diverse town. And before any inhabitants were at the site, the natural environment was a swamp with lots of mangroves growing along the coast. So if you look closely at the tiles on the left, you can see there's many lines which cross over each other. And these were made using a technique with wet paint and string called makdal. And this symbolizes the battles which happened over gaining power of the Malaccan grounds. And Trenkera, directly translated to English, is palisades. And this means the wooden stake fence which would protect the town in the past. So to find an appropriate proposal for the site, I made an urban study and proposed interventions along Trenkera Road. The main idea of these proposals are to create a context-sensitive approach to extend programs along the street instead of focusing it in one area. This would help support the local community and develop the tourism aspect at the same time. The abandoned shop houses are identified along the street, and new programs are proposed throughout the site to preserve the local heritage and rehabilitate the site. So it's very common that when people visit Malacca, they visit the tangible heritage, such as the historical remnants or the fortresses. and they often lack the experience of the intangible Malaccan heritage found along this Tinkera Road. So these proposed interventions would promote the intangible heritage which would be found within this street and create sustainable growth and development of the heritage zone. This would also support the local community through self-sustaining programs, such as the hardwood plantation, which would offer jobs to the locals and provide the community with a source of building materials. These materials would help to use throughout the site for the interventions and provide the spaces for locals to strengthen their bonds with their local heritage. So Tinkera Road stands out on the map due to its unique fishbone urban pattern. And this is due to the fact that shop houses were extended beyond the roads instead of by the width, as owners were taxed based on the width of the facade. And you can tell where the land reclamation works start and end on the map. So my chosen site is nearby Jonker and Huron Street. And if you've been to Malacca, you've probably been to Jonker Walk. It's very well known. It's lively and has many local vendors. So when visiting, people will usually park along this Tinkera Road and then walk over to Jonker Street. And so this site that I've chosen is eye-catching to the pedestrian. And the unique quality of this site is that there's a moat which runs through the center. This would be used in the past as a protective measure for the town, and it was used as a buffer between the inside and outside of the fortress. And the battles over Malaccan grounds would take place here. My proposal is a cultural center. And so to begin my design development, I had to identify the context of the site. And so on the right-hand side, you can see that the main road is positioned there, and the shop houses are shaded in black. So the moat acts as a separator between the public and the private spaces. And so the public spaces would be on the bottom of the moat and be the main spine and access of the building. And the private spaces are above. And on the left-hand side at the bottom corner is the newer modern shop houses, which would be used as a local market, and it's very accessible to the residents which live close by the shop house. So this is a figure ground map of my final form, and the private spaces are to be broken down into smaller forms and angled with the Maktau lines. So as you saw in the previous diagram, the Maktau lines are diagonal and intersecting each other, and this would help to angle the building so that there's some voids in between, and this is inspired by the design of the shop houses at the site, as they use indoor courtyards throughout the building. The main form of the spine, the public zone, is in the form of a ship, mainly to draw the attention of the public. And the final steps were to find a way to connect these spaces vertically and horizontally. So the main intentions of my proposal would be to have a seamless yet sensitive approach to the site. And as a whole, it should act as an antithesis of what the site used to be, which now should be a significant place for locals and visitors to appreciate the local heritage and culture through these selected programs. So the main materials that are used that are new would be the use of laterite stone in the concrete. And the laterite stone is chosen mainly because you can find it in abundance at Malacca, and it was also used as the main structural material for the fortresses. So this would be paired with the earth brick and the clay, and overall the building would have this orange tone to it. And breeze blocks would be used throughout the spaces, the semi-enclosed spaces, for natural daylight and ventilation. And the chengal wood would be integrated from the plantations. So on the lower ground floor plan, you can see that there's mostly parking, and the mangroves grow from the planters around this parking area. And so the lower right-hand corner is the retention pond, which would change the fresh water into water which would replicate the seawater. And this would be provided to all the mangroves throughout the site. So due to land reclamations, the local fishermen have been negatively affected by the works that they're doing. And so this would help to propose maybe aquaculture and river prawns to be cultivated and bring back the biodiversity to the site. The intentional use of mangroves is because this used to be, the site used to have many mangroves growing throughout, and so it would infill the land and restore the natural environment to what it used to be. The gray circle highlights the sunken stage, which would be where the performances would take place. And the use of rammed earth is intentional, as it hints to the fact that the Straits of Malacca has many uncovered gems along the seabed and would be a symbol of unveiling the intangible heritage found at the site. So in the ground floor plan, you can see there's a very minimal use of walls, and it's made to be very permeable for pedestrians to easily access the site. At the front of the site, on the right-hand side, you can see that the bottom right corner, the shop houses are used as a kind of sculpture and introduction for visitors who enter the site, and the ramp weaves through these shop houses. And the mangroves in this area is actually integrated as much as possible. So in the first floor, you can see that there's mostly accommodation in the private zone. This is for visitors who want to stay longer than one day. And there would be, the shop houses in the private zone would be used and repurposed as workshops, which would be run by locals to share traditions, recipes, games, or even crafts. And then there's also a mini cinema, which would be for the younger users of the site. And finally, there's some planters which would border all throughout the building. So the exhibition space is intentionally designed to provide the visitors with a journey, and it replicates a story. So first, you'd have an introduction to the site, which would be the ramp, which goes through the shop house. And then you'd have the double volume exhibition space, which would be the build-up. And you have a ramp which leads up to a platform. This platform peers over the site, which is the climax. And then you have the next ramp, which would showcase the local Malaccan textiles, which would hang from the timber structure. And this would be the resolution. So this section cuts through the public zone and shows the main axis of the site. So you can see how the story progresses. So you have the introduction to the site through the ramps. And at the platform at number 6, you can see that you can stand at the top of the building and peer over the site. And this actually faces the sea. And the roof of the exhibition space replicates the same design as the shop houses, with the undulating roof. So this section cuts through the private spaces. You can see that there's a very permeable ground floor, and the accommodation is positioned in the first floor and upper floors. And finally, the event spaces and rooftop gardens are integrated for private events. And this basement can actually be used in the future when there's less cars on the street, and so it could infill the land, bring back biodiversity and aquaculture. So to conclude, the unique trait of Malacca Heritage Town cannot be found anywhere else, and there's no parallel of what is found at the site in any other place in the world. And these are inherited by generations to come. And it's our responsibility to preserve the intangible and tangible heritage of these shop houses. We see that architectural interventions would reveal the previous agenda of existing structures through adaptive reuse. And this proposal creates a prototype to be replicated throughout the site and adapted to the shop houses positioned along the street. We end up populating the street with many new programs which focus on community building and placemaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sarah GWEN, for that wonderful presentation. Now I would like to share our sponsors video of the night. On behalf of our sponsors, I am thrilled to introduce you to a revolutionary approach in architectural materials, DML custom-made aluminium. Are you tired of settling for off-the-shelf solutions that fail to capture your unique vision? Are you seeking materials that elevate your designs from ordinary to extraordinary? Look no further. DML custom-made aluminium is here to fulfill your wildest architectural dreams. Our target market, those who refuse to compromise on creativity and quality. Whether you are working on high-end residences, prestigious hotels, or one-of-a-kind projects, DML custom-made aluminium is your partner in innovation. What sets us apart? Our commitment to customizations. We work with a variety of materials, including aluminium, GI steel, stainless steel, and more. With cutting-edge techniques like banding, welding, and hole punching, we bring your designs to life with unparalleled precision. The advantages are clear. With DML custom-made aluminium, your design vision becomes reality, minimizing the risk of costly mistakes. Our extensive experience ensures that even the most complex designs are executed flawlessly. But it's not just about meeting expectations, it's about exceeding them. Our unique designs are difficult for competitors to replicate, giving you a competitive edge in the market. Plus, we are collaboratively closely with you to maximize profitable and sustainable in every project. For example, that we can look at the PAM building, aluminum louvers and externals were done by DML. By choosing DML custom-made aluminium, you're not just investing in quality craftsmanship, you are making a statement about your commitment to sustainable design practices. Together, we can build a brighter, greener future for generations to come. Thank you for considering DML custom-made aluminium. Let's turn your architectural visions into reality. Get in touch with us today and let's build something extraordinary together with DML. Without any further delay, allow me to introduce our main speaker of the night, architect Dato Kiat Tung, and invite him to the stage to present Designing a Better Tomorrow. But before that, let me read his biography. TNT Architect was founded upon the principle of consistent innovations and commitment to quality. Our vision is to design better buildings for tomorrow and providing a better future for our team. Our firm's most important asset is our people. We are an award-winning firm specializing in development projects and affordable apartments. Our projects included Aries, Eco Ardens, Eco Hill Sales Gallery Office, Sea House, Suri Mutiara, Satyalam. Architect Dato Kiat Tung graduated with honors in Bachelor of Architecture from University of New South Wales, Australia. He works as professional architecture, have been published in numerous publications such as Architect Malaysia, Star Paper, The Age, Heaven, InDesign, NST, Creative Home, China Press, Red Tomato, and Impiana. He is the founder and managing director of TNT Architects in Berhad. Under his leadership, TNT Architects in Berhad is humbled to be awarded BCI Asia Top 10 Architect Award for 6 consecutive years. His commitment to architecture was recognized by PAM in 2011 as one of the 30 under 40 emerging architect in Malaysia under 40 years old. Please welcome to the stage Architect Kiat Tung.
Okay, thank you, Shukran, for having me. Well, thank you, Pam, for organizing tonight's event. Okay, my talk today is designing a better tomorrow. I'll start off a little bit about history. Okay, we started because in year 2002, because of Plenitude. Plenitude gave us the opportunity to start our first project. In fact, when we started, our thoughts is after finish this project, we will go back to employment. Together with me, I started this firm with my co-founder, Yali. Would you like to stand up, Yali? Despite being very naive, we have a vision to design a better building and also to provide a better future for our people. So these are the two things that we strive for: better building for tomorrow and better future for our team. We also founded on 3 core values: striving for excellence. Now, striving for excellence is not just designing better buildings, but also better quality drawings, okay, and also result focus, meeting deadlines, and also having strong integrity. Now, integrity is the essence of everything. Without integrity, even though you are a fantastic architect, you also will not, your client also will not come back to you. Currently, we are supported by a team of 100 staff, comprising architects and draftsmen. Now, Sea House, there was such time we won a Dream Home Award. Well, okay. This is an award whereby we have been published in numerous publications, basically almost all media, Astro, the Star Paper, New Straits Times, and The Age. Now, the Sea House is basically a very simple building. What we wanted to do is a very practical, green living in the urban setting. Now, it's inspired by the initial of the owner, which is C. Now, basically, it's a very simple form. It's basically based on a C-shaped building. And what happened is, it's actually having eastern side. It basically, we have a glass facade on the eastern side. Okay. And this is the eastern side of the building. What we did is that we have all the glass facing the eastern side, and we have on the western side is basically a double cavity wall. Now we can see the floor plan is also initial by, inspired by the owner initial, which is a C shape. We have this design was done before in 2006 before the existence of GPI. And we have a central water body as a cooling and calm agent for the entire building. You can see here, on the western side is whereby we have all the openings, and we have a double cavity wall on the western side. The double cavity wall is whereby facing the western side, and what we did is that we used the western side as an existing building to provide a ready shade to the building. And we have a cross ventilation on all the public spaces. The top floor, the top floor is shaded by a big roof, whereas on the rooms are recessed on the western side, whereby we have a roof that will provide shades, rainwater harvesting, and installation of PV panel. You can see here there's an existing building on the western side. Okay, there's an existing building here. What we did is that we used the existing building to shade the building on the western side. And we have a huge roof to harvest the rainwater, and also the installation of solar panel. Some of the details. Now, the next building that we did is, I will share is the tea house. This is an existing building. Now, this building has been featured in the Star, the Star House of Secret Garden. In tea house, every room have a garden. Okay, basically it's a very simple. What we did is that we actually have gardens on the existing building. We actually introduced gardens on all the edges, so that every room will have a garden. Now, this house is a 3-generation home to accommodate the elderly parents on the ground floor. Okay, some of the view. So what we did is that we have a permeable facade, whereby the balconies, we allow the planters to grow from the balconies, air to go through from the vertically as well as horizontally. We recycle all the interior timber flooring, the roof and the brick walls. Okay, even the powder room, you can see here, also there's a landscaping, the garden within it. Okay, this is the parents' room. Okay, the parents' room faces the western sun. Okay, this in fact is the western sun. What we did is that we introduced a high wall, and we bring in the lights and ventilation vertically on the upper level. This is a master bedroom. Again, what we did is that you can see the master bedroom, able to see the top of the trees. And we allowed the creepers to grow down. And because this master room faces the western sun, so we allowed the creepers to shade the building as well. Now, next building project I would like to share is the areas. This is the entrance of the areas. It's inspired by the gems. Now, what we did for areas is that we want to introduce a new housing typology with a strong modern tropical architecture. Now, what we try to do is, unlike normal terrace houses, the lack of natural lighting, what we introduce is, we call it a garden home, whereby we allow gaps in between the terrace houses. And by doing that, we actually create a spaces that actually better the terrace houses as well as semi-D. For example, assuming the lot is actually for a semi-D is 32 feet, after the setback, in fact, you would have really less usable, the frontage of the building frontage will be 22 feet. By having this garden home, we would have spaces, 32 feet frontage, and you create this annex that have view towards the garden as well as the back. So the facade offers a clean line and simple, timeless architecture. Now, apart from the having annex behind, we also have explored annex whereby the annex is actually in front. So as you come in, you were greeted by a very wide frontage. So even though if it's a semi-D, after introducing the annex, after introducing the setback, you would have actually not a very wide frontage. By having this, you would have a 32 feet frontage and having more superior spaces compared to a semi-D. Now, in this, in areas, all the back lanes are connected to the central park. I'll play you a video. Now, the next project I will share is actually Jovita in Gamuda Garden. Okay, what we have done for Jovita is that we have, for a cluster home, we have actually 4 identical. This is actually a cluster home I would like to share. Okay, whereby we have 4 non-identical facades to form a cluster. So I've created this unique house design typology, whereby the whole cluster look like actually one house. Well, we actually use the gable end design of various size and shape to mirror the hilly terrain of Gamuda Garden. On the entire master plan, every unit is actually connected to the pedestrian-free connection, offer a pedestrian-free connection to the central park. So 4 floor plans and 4 different facades. So combined with this combination, we have a design that looks like I mentioned, like a single bungalow. Next project I would like to share is Arundina in Eco Park. Now, Arundina is inspired by the orchid, which is the orchid called Arundina. It's purple in color. What we did is that we introduced this modern Victorian charm architecture using the purple color to create an enchanting living experience for the entire development. In the entire master plan, we create pocket gardens, in fact, 10 pocket gardens within the entire master plan, and all the pocket gardens are connected. So the whole experience looks like a fairy tale. Next project we'd like to share is Eco Hill Sales Gallery. Now what we have done is that it's basically a simple form. By creating zigzag protrusion, we're creating pockets of interest, pocket of spaces within the sales gallery that offers, that accommodate different programs at this zigzag protrusion. So these are the different program that is provided in the different other protrusion. We have visitor lounge, children corners, as well as areas, music corners. Now, by having this protrusion, we also bring in natural lighting on high level, as well as the side. Garden at the toilet areas, and having a terrace that faces the park. Now, designing a project without budget is easy. Designing something beautiful for an affordable housing is difficult. So this is something that we try very hard and in achieving. Now, this is a project whereby we received the Age Affordable Housing Award. What we call it, we have this butterfly layout. In this butterfly layout, all the green area are interconnected. And we created this butterfly floor plan whereby we introduce cross ventilation and natural lighting. Now, most of the affordable housing, you find that you ventilate via air well, it'll be very dark in the corridor. By having this butterfly layout, we create cross ventilation and a very airy corridor spaces. Now, the next project is I'd like to share is actually Huni. Now, this project was done during the MCO. And what we have done is that we created a unit whereby without corridor. So even though it's 1,000 square feet, it will appear bigger than a normal 1,000 square feet apartment. Now, next project is Serasi. Now, our attempt here is to create, even though it is affordable apartments, every unit will have external view, and we have a layout that without corridor, and introduce natural lighting and corridor at the gaps of the units. Even though it's an affordable project, all units will have external view, and all the corridors will be naturally ventilated without air well. Now, next project is actually a competition that we enter in Japan together with Sathya. Now, this project is a competition not among architects. In fact, it's a competition among developers. So together with Sathya, in fact, we actually won this competition. Now, location-wise, this is actually Kansai Airport. This is Kansai Airport. We are actually one stop away from Kansai Airport. For the ladies who have been shopping, it's actually next. Our site is actually next to Ringkua Outlet. Now, what we have done in this project is actually to marry two culture, which is Malaysian as well as Japanese culture. Now, for this project, we have the koi pond. We introduced a koi pond at the focal point at the whole development, as well as actually butterfly park, bringing Malaysian butterfly as well as plants to the center of the development. Okay, this is the initial concept sketches. And this is the end product. Now, some other project that we TNT did, we also, this is a federal highway. We did Southville in Bangsar South. We did in PJ, we did Raya Miho, and we also did Tropicana Miu in PJ. In Ampang, we did Picasso. And in our resort, we have a condo with every unit have a golf course view called Par 3. In Damansara Heights, we did clear water. Now, there's a Michelin star restaurant on top of clear water called Jappers. Setia Alam, we also did a condo called Tuai. It's a multi-generation home. In Puchong, we did Rio City. Now, currently, we are also working on, we just got approval for the tallest residential tower in KLCC. Now, for those who would like to know more about our project, you can visit our website. And for those who are interested to join us, you can also apply through our website. Okay, thank you. Not used to presenting to so many people.
Thank you so much, Architect Dato Kiat Tung, for that wonderful insight presentation. Now, moving on, we will have Q&A sessions. I would like to invite again Architect Kiat Tung and also Architect Rin Tan to the stage for the Q&A sessions. There will be QR code display on the screen. Please scan and post your question if you have any question. So we'll have 2-minute water break for our speakers, and you guys can stand by your question. Maybe I'll start with a simple question. Out of curiosity, what does TNT stand for?
Well, one of the key.
So your mic there. Maybe you can change your mic.
Well, my surname is Tung.
Yes.
One of the T is my initial. The other T, in fact, we have an ID partner called Theo, which is also initial T.
Okay, all right.
I think we have the first question from the floor, which is one of the things that you mentioned in the beginning. You share about the project that you do and that you wanted to go back to employment. Eventually, you didn't. So how do you secure your first client? I think a lot of architects would love to know this. And how do you then maintain your clientele or the returning client?
I'm not sure whether you know who is the owner of Plenitude. Any of you have worked with Plenitude before?
I don't know.
Now, Plenitude gives us the opportunity to start our firm. In fact, as I mentioned, we thought after finish one project, we will go back to employment. Surprisingly, they actually give us jobs every year. And in fact, we have our second client after the 5th year. In fact, Plenitude, if you know, in fact, the owner is our ex-finance minister. In fact, Top One, which is the third wife, gave us our first project. We only have one client because I do not have a rich uncle or rich father. So we really thought after finish one job, we will go back to employment. I went to work for a firm that mainly do a lot of government projects, which is very lucrative. So one day, my boss decided not to do the private job, and I was handling Plenitude project. So they decided I would just focus on government project, which is very lucrative. And they said, I don't want to do private jobs anymore. So then what happened is that Top One asked me, we like to take it up because your boss doesn't want to do it anymore. So that's how we started our first job. Right.
Among your all the projects that you have presented just now, we can see a lot of typologies of types of housing. Which one of the project is that your favorite and why?
I think my favorite is the tea house, and yeah, I think tea house will be my favorite because we have an extremely tight budget, and we managed to create a space whereby every room, in fact, what we have spent is only 700,000 to create that house. And it's a rental house, and we actually managed to create gardens in every room by just 700,000. So and despite we having this tight budget, we managed to create amazing spaces and extremely happy client.
So I assume this is not your house because it's tea house. But you
Yeah,
say it's
there was
client. Or the client is on the floor
Question
now.
from the audience: is tea house your own house because of the initial T?
One of the question. Yeah.
Yeah, but tea house is actually my own house, but my client is actually
On the floor also, yeah.
but the clients,
Yeah, it makes sense now.
I have very difficult clients. My parents and my wife and my children. Those are the most difficult clients.
Okay, interesting. Now, you share with us a lot of typology of the building, from landed to high-rise, also to commercial, to the highest tower on KL now. And one of the interesting topic or project that you share is the affordable housing. And there's a lot of questions from the floor regarding this building. So one of the questions asked is on this so-called butterfly high-rise that you mentioned just now. How does the non-conventional layout become affordable housing given 3 units per wing? How do you actually define, or I would say, invent a new design philosophy into so-called affordable housing?
Actually, as I mentioned, doing project with higher budget is a lot easier. Doing project with limited budget and yet create something beautiful, that is actually, to me, it's actually very, very challenging. And I like doing public housing and affordable housing. In fact, we have really tried many layout. From having, as I mentioned, the butterfly layout, introducing cross ventilation, and and natural lighting to common spaces. Now, a lot of affordable housing stresses a lot on efficiency, and because of high efficiency, we end up having really very dark and not very well ventilated corridor spaces, especially on the lower floors. On the upper floors, you will have very good ventilation and lighting. So by creating this open or butterfly layout, we will be able to bring in lights and natural ventilation even to the lower floors. Now in Serasi, in fact, one of our clients is here, Samsan Dabi. We created this affordable housing whereby, you see, for affordable housing, normally the last room will look into the airwell. But for this affordable housing we did, all rooms were able to look out. And by not introducing airwell, we created openings between the units. We actually managed to also bring natural lighting and ventilation, even to the lower floors of the lower floors corridors.
What is the design process for your urban housing? Maybe not just on the urban housing. How do you start, get inspirations on developing your design process for your project?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
What is the design process for your urban housing project?
Design process?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? What is inspired you to, to start for that project? Your design thought on what is how you do the process? Like, are you looking at the client's need on specific requirement on the design?
You cannot avoid the client needs because they are your paymaster. Yeah. So surely you have to take care of the client needs. But having said that, I think most of us try to, not just us, I'm sure that a lot of architects here will try to push the architectural boundary, especially testing the authorities' limitation. So you would have to consider all that aspect to come up with the design.
I think we do respect your effort on doing the new typology or pushing the limit of the design, especially for housing. You also show us one of the design on the landed housing where you kind of like introduce a different layout for semi-D on that particular housing. So can you explain to us a bit on this, where how you actually overcome the challenges in between authority guideline or also client requirement on coming out a new typology? You know, rather than just keeping the job easy, you do terrace house, semi-D or bungalow, but you spend extra amount or effort to do this. What made you do so?
I think it goes back to our core value. One of our core value is really striving for excellence. And this is something that, we fall back to our core value.
What are the top 5 tips to set up a company, including those you think could have done better back then when you set up the architect? Any advice from, I would say, your experienced architect to the new generations who will just about set up their own practice? Any tips?
Well, I think try not to set up our own practice. It is really very difficult. The biggest challenge that we faced initially, as I mentioned, we only got our second client after 5th year of practice. And the biggest challenge is getting talent. And getting job is one thing, because you see, to complete a project, even though a simple bungalows will be easily 3 years. From design to implementation, easily with 3 years. A high rise will be easily 5 to 7 years. In fact, we didn't manage to get we only managed to get our first high rise after practicing for 10 years. That's also by accident. So it's really difficult. Well, finding talent is, of course, is difficult, but no one's know you. And you will probably get low tier staff. You know, the top tier staff will go to, the good staff will go to the top firm in town.
How do you foster creativity, innovation within your team? Since you have like 100 people to manage, how do you able to foster creativity for them to keep motivating, like producing a design that beyond like our typical design layout?
Okay, what we have is that we give a lot of freedom to our team member. So in every project, we actually identify a so-called a captain. So the captain, many are directors, and the director will basically have a free hand to come up with their own design and to drive the design of the projects. And also boils down to our core value. We reward our staff by winning awards, by getting winning competition. Yeah, incentives are given, and we have a very transparent incentive scheme in our firm.
I think that is a very nice, to have that kind of composition to encourage your captain or to have a director motivate them to keep inspired and doing good. Yeah.
Since you have shared with us a lot of projects that you're working on recently, is there any project that you would like to let our audience know that is apart from the housing? Any other typology of building that is in your mind that you would like to share with the audience on project that is not housing?
Currently, if you visit our website, apart from housing, currently we also do a lot of industrial park. We also have, we've done several hotels as well. In fact, after the COVID, there's a boom in hospitality. So we did have a lot of invitation to do hotels.
Can you please share with us your current business model and project management flow in your office? Yeah, if it's okay with you.
Current, sorry?
Can you please share with us your current business model and project management flow?
Current business model.
I think the audience would just like to know how does you handle 100 architects in your firm?
Yes.
Like why? Or maybe you can tell us like daily life of architect Kiat Tung in one day life of you in the office or things like that. Like how do you actually manage such a big firm?
we give a lot. I mean, every directors manage your own team. So we don't manage everyone's. I mean, I don't manage everyone's every team member, every architects in the office. So in total, we have 8 directors. So each director will manage their own team, and in total we have 15 teams actually.
Okay, so this is the question from the floor, like just now that one mentioned. So you have mentioned you have 8 teams and then in your company and all that. They would like to know how do you actually manage the team with a workforce, or I would put it in the other way around, at which stage of the project that you would involve them in, or since beginning, or maybe at the end, and what is your involvement on that particular project, if there's any?
Normally, as a director, we were always in the front line. So whenever there's problem, we have to be there. So if that answers the question?
Yeah.
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 How do you see the role of architecture evolving in the future?
How do you see the role of architecture evolving in the future?
It's very random, but I just wanted to look at what's your opinion on that?
I think it's going to be more and more difficult. The client also nowadays are more and more demanding. When we started, we don't have BIM, right? We don't have 3D rendering. We don't design in 3D. Now, if you tell your client you can't do BIM, you probably can't get the job. And you tell your client you can't do nice rendering, you can't get the job. And nowadays, clients don't even expect you to do BIM. They also ask you, hey, can you do ID? If you cannot do ID, I want an architect who can do ID and architecture. If not, you can't get a job. So it's really very difficult for startup. It's not easy. I mean, if you're doing small project like bungalows, renovation, I think it's not a problem because those clients they're not educated. They don't know what they want. But if you're dealing with more established clients, they are very, very demanding. So it's really not easy.
So talking about client and project, how do you actually balance between the construction cost and the design? Since you mentioned a lot, affordable housing is a bigger challenge when you do it without having high budget. How do you actually balance between the cost and design?
Well, how do you balance out? I guess you just have to push the boundary of architecture, and to create something nice and yet low budget.
We totally admire your energy and effort on doing something frontier. And I think you mentioned about the BIM and also the software and all the things that we should do at the current stage. Now, moving forward, we have so-called AI, technology and all that. Has TNT Architect have embracing it, or what is your view towards this AI architecture?
Yeah, we are using it at this moment. We are using AI in our practice. In fact, we just started not very long ago. We're using AI. But the challenge is that it's very it's not accurate. I mean, for those, I'm not sure any of you have tried using AI in your office. Any of you have tried using AI in your office? No. Yeah.
Maybe one last question from the audience. Dato, can you give some advice to the young architects?
Some advice for young architects.
Or maybe I put in the other way around. How do you keep your passion going for 22 years after you supposedly to become, go back to employment, but you continue doing? How do you keep yourself, continue to doing this and getting your company growing until the current stage 100 packs?
I guess you have to see architecture as not as a work, but as a hobby, as part of your life. So it's something that you enjoy. It's like doing a painting. Even though you don't get paid doing a painting, and you still paint. And if you can do that, I mean, if that is what this is how you feel, then you will continue doing architecture even though you don't get paid.
Okay, this is I can feel this is like the sincere opinion deep from his heart. Okay, maybe we have the last question for
Okay, maybe this could be the last question. Any tips on dealing with difficult clients?
Any tips dealing with difficult client? I guess is that if the client shouts at you, you just you just talk slowly, and they will stop shouting at you.
Okay, I think we can try that.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could look at it, if the client will keep on shouting or they stop. I think that's come to an end our tonight's sessions. But before that, I would like to invite architect Adrianta to the stage to give token of appreciations to our main speaker and also open mic speaker.